This day in sports history.
And that's the end of the first half. As the teams head to the locker room, the Spartans lead the Bulldogs by a score.
You guys stink. Geez, Coach, we're only down a couple of points. No, I mean you guys really smell. You need to hit the showers. And here, I got every one of you new bars of soap from the Sterling Soap Company. Each bar is artisan crafted using natural ingredients and essential oils. They also have shave soaps, colognes, beard balm, and a whole lot more. Now get in there. But Coach, we have another half to play. I don't care. I can't stand to be around you.
A few minutes later.
All right, bring it in tight. You guys are still playing terrible, but you're smelling great out there. Now listen, you're going to need to stock up for the rest of the season. We got a lot of tough games left. So go to sterlingsoap.com after the game. That's STIRLING soap.com. You got that?
Yes, Coach.
Great. sterlingsoap.com on 3. 1, 2, 3. sterlingsoap.com.
It's May 18th, and on this day in different years, we said goodbye to two football greats whose lives ran parallel, but unfortunately never intersected on the football field. In 1963, running back Ernie Davis lost his battle with leukemia after a 10-month fight. Davis was the 1961 Heisman Trophy winner at Syracuse, becoming the first black player to ever receive that award. He was also a two-time All-American. Davis led the Orangemen to a perfect 11-0 record, a win against Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and the 1959 National Championship. In that Cotton Bowl win, Davis ran for a couple of touchdowns and threw one. During his time at Syracuse, Davis erased a lot of the records of his predecessor, Jim Brown. Davis wore the same number 44, as Jim Brown. He finished his collegiate career with 2,386 yards, 295 more than Jim Brown. He was the top pick in the 1962 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins, but he was traded to the Cleveland Browns shortly after. The Browns also had Jim Brown. The two Syracuse legends were going to be in the same backfield in the pros. But at a camp prior to the annual college all-star game, doctors detected his leukemia. He sat out the 62 season, and by October of that year, doctors told him he was in remission, and he was allowed to start training again. But that did not last long. His health started to deteriorate, and then on May 15th, Davis was admitted to a Cleveland hospital. He died on the 18th of 1963, never having the opportunity to play in the NFL. He was 23 years old. Now, it seems like Brown and Davis, despite their age difference, were intertwined. Both were stars at Syracuse, both set records as running backs, both wore number 44, and both were Cleveland Browns. Add to that, Jim Brown died on this day in 2023, exactly 60 years after Davis, and that seems almost eerie. Brown was not only one of the all-time greats to play in the NFL, but he was also one of the most outspoken and influential social justice warriors, and he had great respect for the soft-spoken Davis, saying he just had a way of touching people emotionally. Anybody who ever knew Ernie Davis loved him. Brown played 9 seasons in the NFL, rushing for more than 12,000 yards and 109 touchdowns. He led the league in rushing 8 out of the 9 years that he played. He was the league MVP in 4 of those seasons, including his rookie year of 1957. He is, without a doubt, the greatest Cleveland Browns player of all time, and he was the player who set the standard for running backs in the league for decades. He was inducted into the Professional Football Hall of Fame in 1971 in his first year of eligibility. Interesting fact, Brown is the only person to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame, and the Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Jim Brown was 87 when he died on this day in 2023. On this day in 2004, Arizona Diamondback Randy Johnson pitched a perfect game against Atlanta. Now, this Braves team had a lot of talent. Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, Julio Franco, but Johnson was simply overpowering. He threw a total of 117 pitches, struck out 13, and went to 3 balls on only 1 batter. Andrew Jones came the closest to breaking it up with a 5th-inning liner, but that was caught, and Johnson continued his perfect night for a 2-0 win. It was the 17th perfect game ever thrown, and at 40 years old, Johnson is also the oldest to ever throw one. From a perfect game to a guy who was the farthest thing from perfect. On this day in 1912, Detroit Tigers pitcher Alan Travers gave up a major league record 26 hits and 24 runs in a game. He walked 7, struck out just 1 in 8 innings of work in a game against the Philadelphia Athletics. So, kind of weird, right? Why does a manager leave a pitcher in to get continuously shellacked? Well, there is a story, and it goes back to one of the stories I did on May 15th here on This Dish. If you will remember, Ty Cobb went into the stands after a fan who was insulting him. Well, Ban Johnson handed down a 10-game suspension after the game, to which Detroit Tigers players said they would sit out until Cobb was reinstated. Well, this is the game when the regulars started their sit-out. But owner Frank Navin still had to field a team or pay a $5,000 fine. So, Navin hired a group of semi-pros at $25 apiece to fill in and offered up an extra $25 for someone willing to pitch the game. Travers did so, and he endured the 24-2 beatdown. This was the only game that Travers ever pitched in the major leagues, but his name is in the official registry. Ban Johnson was not happy with Navin or the Tigers regulars. He threatened permanent suspension of players who refused to play. After Cobb encouraged those guys to go back, well, they did. Travers decided that maybe baseball wasn't for him, and the priesthood sounded better. He enrolled in seminary a short time later. And on this day in 1996, the U.S. women's national soccer team beat China 1-0 to win the U.S. Women's Cup. This was a small 4-team round-robin event featuring the U.S., Canada, Japan, and China. All the games were played in the U.S. on the East Coast. The U.S. women beat Canada and Japan earlier in the tourney. China had done the same, and so when the U.S. and China met on this day, it was for the tournament title. Michelle Akers scored the lone goal in the 63rd minute, and Brianna Scurry kept another clean sheet. She was not scored on in the 3 games. That gave the women a nice little boost that they used to win the U.S. Olympic title in Atlanta later on in the summer. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. The best Lego builders in the world can strive to be certified professionals. But it's not easy. There is no test, there's no training or certificate or curriculum available. Folks who are LCPs are recruited, and there are only 30 in the world. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.